I had just clocked out of work in the early hours of the morning when I received a hotel pin drop on Snapchat from my best friend, Serena. I thought she wanted to hang out or grab a late-night drink. But when I pushed the hotel room door open, I saw Serena and my fiancé, Ethan, wrapped in the sheets together. It felt like a lightning strike. I went completely numb. Serena, you're sleeping with my fiancé? And you invited me to watch. Serena just smiled at me. Chloe, I'm just giving him a test drive for you before the wedding. My fiancé, Ethan, pulled on his pants while trying to soothe me. Don't you want to wait until the wedding night? Serena said I might have issues, so she wanted to inspect the goods for you first. I gritted my teeth and forced a smile. And? How was the inspection? Serena pinched Ethan's abs playfully. Works great. Best friend approved. You can marry him with peace of mind. There were only 2 weeks left until the wedding, and they ended up inspecting each other 18 more times at that hotel. On the day of the wedding, Ethan, dressed in his tuxedo, was waiting to receive the bride. But he waited, and I never showed up. Serena got anxious too and called me on Snapchat, demanding answers. Chloe, you're 30 minutes late. Did you forget today is your wedding? Where the hell are you? Your husband is waiting for you. He looks so pathetic, it breaks my heart. She joked half seriously. If you don't show up soon, I'm going to marry him instead. Go ahead. I sneered, glancing at the handsome man standing across from me. Exchanging rings. I spoke slowly. I'm already married. Oh, by the way, you should call me Aunt Chloe now. The other side went dead silent for 2 seconds. Serena didn't believe me. Her laughter came through the phone. Chloe, are you still asleep? What kind of nonsense is that? I'm literally at your wedding venue right now. Your groom is right under my nose. Who could you possibly be marrying? It sounded like she slapped someone. A loud smack echoed over the receiver. Ethan gasped in pain. Serena, you dare smack my ass while you're on the phone with my wife? You're playing with fire. If my wife gets jealous and refuses to marry me, you'll pay for this. Serena's voice was teasing and thick with flirting. Pay for what? Tonight is your wedding night with Chloe. I won't be waiting for you at the hotel tonight. As soon as she said that, a burst of laughter erupted from their friends around her. What wedding night? You three should just sleep together. Yeah, Serena is the maid of honor anyway. They practically share everything. I'm sure Chloe wouldn't mind. Honestly, Ethan, you should just marry them both today. Ethan laughed and kicked the speaker playfully. All right, that's enough. My wife is listening. He grabbed the phone from Serena, his voice turning sweet. Chloe, don't mind them. They're just messing around. Why aren't you here yet? Did you oversleep? Hurry up, the guests are going to arrive soon. I replied calmly. Are you brainless? Or just deaf? I already told you. I am married. The groom isn't you. Don't call me again. My husband will get angry. Before Ethan could reply, I heard the sound of his phone dropping, and I hung up. The world was finally quiet. I looked back at my own wedding. The roses, the decorations, everything was styled exactly to my taste. Across from me, Marcus looked at me with burning intensity. Chloe, are you absolutely sure about this? You really want to marry me? Don't do this just to get revenge. Once we exchange these rings, there's no turning back. I smiled and held his hand without a second thought. If I regret it, I'm a fool. The marriage officiant continued. Just as we were about to exchange rings, my phone rang again. I frowned and silenced it, but it rang again immediately. Marcus smiled and handed me the phone. Answer it. We have time. I don't want another man constantly blowing up my wife's phone. I had no choice but to pick up. Ethan's voice was anxious and annoyed. Chloe, what kind of tantrum are you throwing? What was that lie about marrying someone else? I'm standing right here. Who could you marry? Look around. Everyone in our social circle knows you're my fiancé. We've been engaged for years, and our families are waiting. Stop messing around and get over here right now. I listened silently to his entitled rant. Yes. Everyone knew he was my fiancé. We had been together since college. It had been nearly 10 years. But 10 years of history meant nothing compared to his one-night stand with Serena. All because, after getting drunk a few times, he tried to strip my clothes off, kissing me flushed and breathless. Chloe, give yourself to me? I refused. Ever since then, whenever the topic came up, he became obsessive and passive-aggressive. Once, we had a massive fight over a trivial matter. Ethan lost his mind and screamed at me. Chloe, ask yourself honestly, do you even love me? Other couples hold hands and kiss in the first week, and they're in bed by the second. Look at you. It's been 10 years, and you won't even let me touch you. What century are we living in? What is wrong with you? If you really love me, shouldn't you naturally want to get close to me? Why do you act like touching me is repulsive? Even though my eyes were red, I explained it to him over and over again. I love you, but this is my boundary. He knew exactly why. My mother's dying wish was for me to save myself for my husband. She had been tricked by a sweet-talking player, got pregnant with me, and suffered her entire life. She didn't want me to repeat her mistake. But during all of this, my best friend, Serena, had been playing the supportive sister. She would roll her eyes in anger right in front of me. What an asshole. Throwing a fit just because he can't get into your pants? Chloe, listen to me. Do not tolerate his behavior. I listened to her. I just didn't expect that the moment I turned my back, they would end up in bed together. And they had the audacity to call it a test drive. I was pulled back to reality by the hysterical voice on the other end. Ethan, save your breath. I don't care anymore. Today is my wedding day, and I don't want to waste my time talking to you. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Ethan quickly interrupted. Chloe, what are you actually mad about? I'll apologize however you want, just tell me. Today is our wedding. Do you want to humiliate me in front of everyone? And is this about last night? I told you, I drank too much and fell asleep. I didn't see your calls. I couldn't help but sneer. Fell asleep? Or were you busy sleeping with someone else? Ethan had no idea that I had installed a spyware app on his phone long ago. I heard him talking to his frat boys. Tomorrow, I'm a married man. Tonight is my bachelor party, and I'm going to wild out. Someone asked him, Hey, Ethan, are you still going to the hotel with Chloe's bestie for some premarital action? Obviously, Ethan replied, his voice dripping with arrogance. Serena has a killer body and is totally wild. To be honest, if she weren't Chloe's friend, I wouldn't even want to get married. I'd hate to lose access to a catch like her. I sneered silently. Serena snatched the phone back and asked, Chloe, jokes aside, this is your wedding. If you keep delaying, people aren't going to wait forever. She had no idea I had already eloped with her uncle. You should call me Aunt Chloe now. Serena obviously didn't believe me. When we were on good terms, we always joked like this to tease each other. She thought Aunt Chloe was just me playing along. Chloe, honestly, which young pretty boy did you run off with? Don't play too hard. Your fiancé is actually pretty good. I've already tested him for you. If you don't hurry up, another woman might snatch him. Though, honestly, I'm kind of sad he's marrying you. I won't get to touch those abs anymore. But hey, that just makes it more thrilling. Haha, you're not mad, right? I'm just joking. I ignored her and muted the phone. Suddenly, she sent me a barrage of videos on Snapchat. 8 or 9 in a row. I casually tapped one. It was Serena and Ethan drinking a toast together. Serena was wearing the wedding dress she had helped me pick out, linking arms with Ethan as they walked onto the stage. She even gave a speech as the bride. But she added mockingly, Don't get the wrong idea, everyone. I'm not the bride. I'm just her best friend. The bride is running late for some reason, and she's having a little lover's quarrel with the groom. So, I'm just stepping in to keep things running smoothly. Many guests in the crowd could already smell the toxicity. The maid of honor is acting like such a snake. The bride is late, so the bridesmaid takes her place? Who does that? I study psychology. Look at their body language. There is definitely something going on between the groom and the best friend. The whispers were endless. Someone kept forwarding me the TikTok live streams of their wedding. But I didn't care anymore. My wedding with Marcus proceeded smoothly. Marcus had always been a cold, detached bachelor. His parents had even begun to worry he might be secretly gay, nearly going gray with stress. My sudden appearance made the elderly couple so happy they couldn't sleep a wink the night before. Marcus's parents held my hands warmly, overflowing with affection. Chloe, you are so beautiful. The moment I saw you, I knew you were meant to be my daughter-in-law. We are so lucky. At the wedding, the two elders couldn't stop smiling. They proudly introduced me to the guests. Yes, this is my daughter-in-law. Beautiful, isn't she? My son must have used up all his lifetime luck to marry such a wonderful wife. I couldn't help but look down and smile. Marcus and I had met a few times before, but not often. Because Serena and I were best friends, she had shown me photos of Marcus several times, bragging about her hot uncle. Chloe, my uncle, is 5 years older than me, and he is insanely hot. He easily beats any guy out there. If you ever get tired of your boyfriend, why don't you try my uncle? It was because of those words. After discovering that Serena and my fiancé had been test driving each other repeatedly, I made a move on her billionaire bachelor uncle. Once the ceremony ended, Marcus and I went to City Hall to sign our marriage license. Our actual reception party was still a few days away. Where do you want to go? I'll take you anywhere, Marcus said. I thought about it. Disneyland. It was a place I had wanted to go for the past 2 years. Every time I brought it up to Ethan, he would scowl and make excuses to push it off. He told me we would go after the wedding. He promised he would make me his beautiful Disney princess then. But when he said those words, he was always glued to his phone, playing video games with my best friend. Oh, you silly girl, let me carry you in the next round. Now I finally understood. There is no need to wait for someone who keeps making you wait. The world is huge, and there will always be someone happy to accompany you. Marcus took me to Disneyland. He treated me like a true princess, taking photos of me with endless patience and gentleness. Suddenly, a familiar giggling drifted over from nearby. Ethan, won't your wife be mad if she finds out you brought me here? And this ring? I'm the one who picked it out for her. Are you sure it's okay for me to wear it? What's there to worry about? You practically stood in for her at the wedding. In name, you're basically my wife anyway. Ethan had his arm wrapped casually around her shoulders, and they looked like they were about to kiss. Serena laughed happily, pushed him away, and pointed to a stand selling candied strawberries, demanding some. Ethan quickly bought them and handed them over. Feed me. Her voice was pure baby talk. Ethan used to hate it when girls acted cute or whiny. Whenever I did it, he would scowl and call me high maintenance. But now, he just smiled indulgently and leaned in to feed her. No, feed me with your mouth. And Ethan complied without hesitation. It wasn't that he hated cute behavior. He just hated it when it came from me. Seeing me dazed, Marcus walked over. Want some? He had bought a skewer of candied strawberries at some point, my favorite flavor. I nodded. Feed me. Marcus glanced at the couple across from us, gave a knowing smile, took a bite of a strawberry, and leaned down to kiss me. In the end, the skewer fell to the ground. Marcus pinned me against a tree, kissing me with deep, intoxicating passion. But just as we were completely lost in the moment, an enraged voice roared nearby. Stop it. Chloe, what the hell are you doing? Ethan's face went pale. He shoved Serena aside and rushed toward me. Chloe, no wonder you ran away from our wedding and refused to marry me. You found yourself a side piece. Tell me, who the hell is this guy? His face was so pale, he looked like the one who had been cheated on. Get over here. Why are you so close to him? Furious, he reached out to grab me. But I coldly stepped back. Unbothered, I linked my arm even tighter with Marcus's right in front of him. Since you're so desperate to know, let me introduce you. This is my husband, Marcus. And as for you, I paused and smiled. Just an ex-boyfriend who got wrapped around our niece's little finger. Marcus, who had expected this, smiled warmly. I've heard of you, but I must thank you for letting her go. Otherwise, it would have taken me a few more years to win Chloe over. Ethan's face twisted in embarrassment and rage. What niece? What nonsense are you talking about? Uncle Marcus? Serena gasped from behind him, her face turning white as she stared at us. Chloe, since when did you get together with my uncle? She forced a laugh and tried to swat at my arm. Stop joking. My uncle is a legendary bachelor. He doesn't even look at women. Even if you are pretty, there's no way you made my uncle melt. Chloe, playing pretend to make Ethan jealous is fine, but don't take it too far. Neither of them believed it. Exactly, Chloe. Ethan chimed in, looking like he was about to lose his mind. He glared at me, scowling. What crap are you spewing? We haven't even broken up. Since when am I your ex? And you still owe me an explanation for running away from our wedding. I don't owe you anything. After all, I was a married woman now. I felt zero possessiveness toward other men. I pulled Marcus to walk away, but Ethan grabbed my arm. Chloe, what is wrong with you? First you ditch our wedding, and now you're flirting with another man. What do you want? He glared at Marcus with jealous, venomous eyes. This pretty boy looks like a total player. You're using him to put on a show, but aren't you afraid of getting burned? Even now, he thought I was just acting to get his attention. What an ego. My eyes fell mockingly on the red hickey on his neck. It's none of your business. I told you already I'm married. Believe it or not. Ethan tried to pull me closer. He sneered maliciously. No wonder you wouldn't let me touch you for 10 years. You had someone else on the side. Since you love throwing yourself at other men so much, let me. Before his hand could touch me, Marcus's fist connected sharply with his jaw, sending him stumbling back. Ethan hit the damp dirt with a sickening thud. The punch had carried years of Marcus's quiet, disciplined power, snapping Ethan's head back and leaving him sprawled among the scattered, crushed candied strawberries on the pavement. Blood welled at the corner of Ethan's lip. He gasped for air, his hand instinctively clutching his jaw as he stared up at Marcus in pure, unadulterated shock. Uncle Marcus. Serena shrieked, her voice dropping 2 octaves as all her playful flirting evaporated. She scrambled to Ethan's side, her designer heels sinking clumsily into the soil. What are you doing? Why are you hitting Ethan? Are you crazy? Marcus didn't even look down at Ethan. He pulled a linen handkerchief from his breast pocket, casually wiping his knuckles as if he had just touched something unsanitary. His expression remained entirely tranquil, yet the atmosphere around him grew stiflingly cold. Mind your tone, Serena, Marcus said smoothly. His voice wasn't raised, but it carried an undeniable weight that made Serena instantly close her mouth.
You
are speaking to your uncle and, more importantly, to the mistress of the family. Master, mistress? Serena stumbled over her words, her eyes darting between Marcus and me. Uncle, you're lying, right? Chloe ran away from her own wedding today. She's just using you to get back at Ethan. She doesn't love you. I took a slow step forward, resting my head lightly against Marcus's arm. Marcus reached over, his long fingers clasping mine securely, his ring shining under the theme park lights, matching the identical band on my finger. Serena, I said quietly, looking at her flushed, panic-stricken face.
Do you
think everyone in the world is as foolish as you and Ethan? I signed my marriage certificate with Marcus 3 hours ago at City Hall. By law, by contract, and by family hierarchy. I am your aunt. No, that's impossible. Serena's voice trembled. You were together with Ethan for 10 years. How could you marry my uncle in one morning? Ethan pulled himself up onto one knee, wincing in agony. His eyes were bloodshot. As he glared at me, the arrogance he had carried for 10 years finally fracturing into ugly panic. Chloe, you're lying to me, aren't you? Ethan choked out, his voice hoarse. You're doing this because of last night, right? Because Serena and I, because of the hotel? I told you, it didn't mean anything. She was just helping us. You're sacrificing your entire life just to throw a fit. I looked at Ethan, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt absolutely nothing.
No anger, no heartbreak.
Only a profound sense of disgust for the time I had wasted on him. A fit. I chuckled softly, looking down at him. Ethan, you really do have an incredible imagination. Do you honestly think you're worth me ruining my life? Over? I leaned closer to Marcus, looking into his steady, dark eyes. I married Marcus because he treats me like a human being with boundaries, dignity, and respect. Something you failed to do for a whole decade. Ethan's face drained of all color. Chloe. Marcus stepped in front of me, cutting off Ethan's gaze entirely. He looked down at Ethan as if he were nothing more than a nuisance on the sidewalk. Ethan Vance, Marcus said calmly. Your family's firm currently relies on a $40 million supply line backed by my holding company. Effective. Immediately, that line is terminated. Ethan froze, his eyes widening in horror.
What?
Mr. Kingsley, wait, that contract is keeping my company afloat. Then I suggest you figure out how to swim, Marcus replied coldly. Because if you ever speak to my wife again, lay a finger on her, or come within 10 feet of her, it won't just be your supply line. I will personally insure every bank in the city calls in your debt by tomorrow morning. Ethan looked as if he had been struck by lightning. He turned frantically toward Serena. Serena.
Talk to him.
He's your uncle.
Tell him this is a
misunderstanding. Serena was already shaking, her hands trembling so hard she could barely hold her purse. She knew Marcus. In the Kingsley family, Marcus was an absolute monarch. Her father, Marcus's older brother, lived entirely off the dividends and allowances Marcus controlled. Uncle. Serena whimpered, taking a timid step forward.
I
didn't know. Chloe didn't tell me. You called her to brag about taking her place at the wedding, Marcus interrupted, his eyes slicing through her like cold steel. You took her ring. You walked the aisle with her fiancé. You paraded around on live streams, humiliating her name. Marcus took out his phone, dialed a brief number, and put it on speaker. Marcus. A middle-aged man's anxious voice came through the speaker. Serena's father. Brother, Marcus said dispassionately. Serena's monthly allowance from the family trust is suspended indefinitely. Furthermore, forfeit her access to the family estate in the West District.
What?
Serena shrieked, tears instantly spilling over her heavy makeup.
Dad.
Uncle Marcus is taking my money. Serena? Her father's voice panicked over the line. What did you do? Did you piss off your uncle again? Apologize to him, right now. I didn't do anything, Serena sobbed. He married Chloe. Chloe is playing him. Silence. Her father barked through the phone, terrified of losing his own.
Standing.
Marcus, I'll handle her right now. Serena, get home this instant. Marcus hung up the phone without another word. He turned back to me, his sharp features instantly softening, his hand gently smoothing a stray strand of hair. Behind my ear. Are you tired, darling? He asked softly, completely ignoring the two wailing wrecks on the ground. Let's go home. I smiled, feeling a warmth bloomed in my chest that I hadn't felt in years. Okay, let's go home. As Marcus led me away, Ethan tried to drag himself up to chase after us. Chloe, listen to me. Don't leave.
Chloe.
Ethan, stop. Serena shrieked, grabbing his sleeve, weeping hysterically.
Look.
At what you've done. My dad is going to kill me. My uncle froze my accounts. Get off me, you crazy bitch. Ethan roared, shoving Serena violently to the
ground.
It's all your fault. You forced me into that hotel room. You told me. Chloe wouldn't care. You ruined my life. Behind us, the sound of their bitter, screamed insults echoed through the theme park, but I didn't turn back even once. By the time Marcus and I returned to his private residence, a sprawling, elegant villa nestled in the hills overlooking the city, the internet had already combusted. Serena's little stunt at the wedding venue had backfired catastrophically. During the afternoon, Serena had stupidly allowed her friends to live-stream the stand-in wedding on TikTok, thinking she was proving her superiority over me. But after Marcus's public relations team subtly released the full context to the media, the narrative completely flipped. A popular influencer picked up the story, breaking down the timeline. 1. The bride's best friend inspects the groom in a hotel room 18 times before the wedding. 2. The groom claims it's just a test drive. 3. The bride leaves the trash behind and marries the groom's boss/uncle. Instead, the live stream clips of Serena wearing my custom dress and walking down the aisle with Ethan were reposted millions of times. The comments section was a bloodbath. Is this girl crazy? Stealing her best friend's man and calling it a test drive? Look at the groom's face. He looks so proud of cheating. Total scum. The bride is a queen, dropping the cheater and marrying the billionaire. Uncle? That's the greatest plot twist in history. I heard the groom's company lost all its funding within an hour. Karma comes fast. I sat on the plush leather sofa in Marcus's study, scrolling through the comments on my iPad with a hot cup of tea in my hands. Marcus walked in wearing a soft gray cashmere sweater, holding a tablet of his
own.
The sharp, intimidating corporate giant from earlier was gone. In his place was a gentle, attentive husband. He sat down beside me, wrapping one arm comfortably around my waist and pulling me against his chest. What are you reading? He murmured, burying his face in the crook of my neck, inhaling the soft scent of my shampoo. Just watching the spectacle, I smiled, turning the screen toward him.
Ethan's
father called me 6 times while we were driving home. I didn't pick up. You don't have to, Marcus said quietly. Ethan's father came to my office 40 minutes ago. He was kneeling in the lobby, begging to see me. I paused, looking at Marcus. Did you see him?
No, Marcus replied calmly.
I had security escort him out. Anyone who raised a son to treat women as disposable tools deserves to suffer the consequences of their family's total collapse. I looked down at the gold ring on my finger. A quiet thought crossed my mind. Marcus, why me? I asked softly, turning to look into his dark, focused eyes. Serena showed me photos of you before. She always said you were cold, detached, that you didn't care about anyone. Why did you agree to marry me so quickly when I approached you? Marcus looked at me, his gaze softening into a deep, intense warmth that made my heart skip a beat. He reached out, his long fingers gently cupping my cheek. Chloe, he whispered, his voice low and raspy. Do you really think our meeting 2 days ago was a coincidence? I blinked, confused. Wasn't it? I went to your private club because Serena mentioned you were staying there. Marcus gave a low, quiet laugh, a sound so smooth it sent shivers down my spine. 3 years ago, Marcus said slowly, at the charity gala for your mother's cancer foundation, you stood on stage in a simple white dress, speaking about dignity, sacrifice, and strength. I was sitting in the dark in the back row. My eyes widened. You were there? I was, Marcus confessed softly. I saw how brightly you burned, but back then, you were already with Ethan. I watched you from afar for 3 years, watching. You waste your youth on a boy who never knew how to appreciate gold when he had it in his hands. He leaned in, resting his forehead against mine. When you walked into my club 2 days ago and asked if I wanted to pull the ultimate revenge on Ethan and Serena, you thought you were using me, Chloe. But the truth is, I've been waiting 3 years for you to finally give up on him. My breath caught in my throat. The sheer intensity of his confession washed over me, replacing every lingering pain from my past with an overwhelming sense of warmth. He hadn't married me out of pity or amusement. He had been waiting for me, Marcus. I breathed out. Before I could say another word, his lips met mine. Unlike Ethan's rushed, selfish, and aggressive attempts in the past, Marcus kissed me with exquisite patience. He was slow, deliberate, and deeply possessive, as if coaxing me to surrender every defense I had built up over the
Years.
He tasted like dark coffee and sweet mint. His hand slipped beneath the back of my hair, holding me secure as he deepened the kiss, making my mind go entirely blank. When he finally pulled back, my lips were slightly swollen, my chest heaving as I clung to his shoulders. Marcus looked at my flushed face, his eyes dark with restrained desire, but he refrained from pushing further. He simply smiled, kissing my forehead softly. "We have all the time in the world, Mrs. Kingsley," he whispered gently.
I
"Waited 3 years. I can wait until you're ready." 3 days later, the formal Kingsley family council was summoned at the ancestral estate. Because Marcus was the head of the Kingsley group and the patriarch of the family, his marriage was not just a personal matter, it was a seismic event for the entire upper class. Serena and her parents had been ordered to attend. When Marcus and I arrived at the estate in his sleek black Rolls-Royce, the entire courtyard was lined with private security and servants. I was dressed in a tailored, off-white silk dress, paired with a delicate diamond necklace Marcus had gifted me that morning. Beside me, Marcus wore a sharp navy suit, looking every bit the ruler of the family empire. As we walked into the grand dining hall, the atmosphere instantly froze. Serena was sitting at the lower end of the long mahogany table, looking pale, tired, and utterly miserable. Her designer clothes looked disheveled, and her phone, which she usually attached to her hand, was nowhere to be seen. Beside her sat her father, George Kingsley, and her mother, both looking terrified. When George saw Marcus enter, he immediately stood up, pulling Serena with him. "Marcus," George blurted out anxiously. "You're here. We've been waiting for 2 hours." Marcus didn't even acknowledge his brother. He walked gracefully to the head of the table, pulled out the primary leather armchair, and sat down. Then, with absolute naturalness, he pulled out the chair directly beside him and gestured for me to sit. I sat down gracefully, looking across the table at Serena. Serena's eyes burned with jealousy, anger, and deep humiliation, but she didn't dare say a word. She looked like a humiliated beggar standing before royalty. "Sit," Marcus said coldly. George and his wife hurriedly sat down, grabbing Serena's arm to force her into
her seat as well.
"Marcus," George began nervously, sweating profusely. "About the incident at the theme park. Serena was foolish. She was misled by that scum Ethan Vance.
She
didn't mean to disrespect you or Chloe." "Disrespect?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, resting his elbow on the armrest, his eyes icy. "George, do you know what the public is calling the Kingsley family right now? They're calling my niece a shameless homewrecker who sneaks into hotel rooms to test drive other women's fiancés." Serena's face turned bright red. "Uncle, I didn't."
Slap.
Before Serena could finish her sentence, her mother spun around and slapped her hard across the face. "Shut your mouth," her mother screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You
Brat.
do you want to destroy our entire family? Apologize to your uncle and aunt right now." Serena held her burning cheek, her eyes filling with hysterical tears.
She
Looked at me, the girl she used to look down on, the girl she thought she could easily manipulate and steal from, and now I was sitting at the head of her family's table, deciding her financial survival. I. Serena choked, unable to bring herself to say the words. "She doesn't have to apologize," I spoke up calmly, taking a sip from my water.
Glass.
Everyone at the table looked at me in surprise. I put my glass down with a quiet clink, looking straight into Serena's tear-filled eyes. "An apology from Serena is worthless," I said smoothly, my voice carrying a quiet authority. "What I want to know is, Serena, where is the wedding dress?" Serena flinched. What dress? The dress you wore on stage at my wedding venue, I said coldly. The one I spent 4 months designing and having hand-embroidered in Paris. You wore it while walking the aisle with Ethan. Where is it? Serena swallowed hard, trembling. It got dirt on the hem when I was at the hotel with Ethan, so I threw it in the trash.
Bang!
Marcus slammed his hand down on the table. The sudden, violent sound echoed through the high-ceilinged room like a gunshot. George and his wife jumped in terror. You threw my wife's custom gown in the trash? Marcus's voice dropped to a terrifying whisper.
Uncle, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Serena broke down entirely, sobbing uncontrollably, falling to her knees on the marble floor. I was stupid. I was jealous of Chloe. She had Ethan's complete devotion for 10 years, and even though he complained, he never touched another woman because of her. I wanted to prove that I was better than her. I wanted to break her. Her ugly confession hung heavy in the air. It wasn't about Ethan.
It was never truly about Ethan.
Serena had been jealous of my boundaries, my self-respect, and my inner
Strength.
She thought that by seducing my fiancé, she could drag me down into the mud with her. I looked down at her crying on the floor, feeling only profound pity. You didn't break me, Serena, I said softly, standing up from my chair.
You.
Just open my eyes and help me throw out 2 pieces of trash at once. I turned to Marcus, smiling gently.
Darling, I'm tired.
Can we go back? Marcus stood up immediately, his cold demeanor instantly melting into absolute devotion as he wrapped his arm around my waist. Of course, my love, he whispered. He glanced one last time at George and Serena kneeling on the ground. George, Marcus declared coldly. Transfer Serena to the overseas branch in South America tomorrow morning. If she sets foot in the city again, I will liquidate your entire branch of the family enterprise.
No, Dad, no.
Serena screamed, grabbing her father's suit leg.
Don't send me
away. I don't want to go to South America. George pushed his daughter away in desperation, bowing deeply toward Marcus and
me.
Yes, Marcus. Yes. She will leave tomorrow morning. Thank you for your mercy. As Marcus walked me out of the mansion, Serena's hysterical wails faded into the
distance.
While Serena's fate was sealed, Ethan's nightmare was only just beginning. Without the supply line from Marcus's conglomerate, the Vance family business collapsed like a house of cards in less than 48 hours. Banks swarmed their offices, demanding immediate repayment of loans. Business partners canceled contracts left and right, terrified of offending the Kingsley empire. Ethan's father suffered a severe stroke from the stress and was rushed to the ICU. Ethan was stripped of his position as CEO, blacklisted from every corporate network in the city, and forced to sell his luxury car and penthouse just to cover his father's medical bills and initial debts. He had fallen from a wealthy, arrogant heir to a destitute nobody overnight. A week later, I was leaving my high-end interior design studio in the downtown financial district. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow across the glass skyscrapers.
As
I walked toward the private parking garage where Marcus's driver was waiting for me, a figure suddenly dashed out from behind a concrete pillar. Chloe, I stopped, taking an instinctive step back.
It was Ethan.
He looked unrecognizable. The clean-cut, arrogant man in the tuxedo was gone.
He
wore a rumpled, stained shirt. His hair was messy and unwashed, and thick dark circles hung under his hollow, bloodshot eyes. He smelled faintly of cheap alcohol. Chloe, please, don't run away, Ethan begged, dropping to his knees right there on the cold concrete floor of the parking garage. I stared at him, my expression indifferent. Ethan, what are you doing here? Security will be here in 2 minutes. Chloe, I'm begging you, Ethan cried out, tears bursting from his eyes as he tried to reach out and crawl toward my shoes. I was wrong. I was a complete idiot. Serena seduced me. She kept telling me that you didn't care about me, that you were just using me. She gave me alcohol. She trapped me in that hotel room. I let out a quiet, mocking laugh. Trapped you? Ethan, I heard the spyware recording. You told your friends you loved her body and that she was wild. You said you didn't want to lose access to her. Ethan's face went deadly pale. You heard that? I heard everything, I said coldly. Every disgustingly arrogant word that came out of your mouth. Chloe, I was just boasting in front of my friends. You know how guys are. Ethan scrambled forward, weeping hysterically. I didn't mean it. The person I love is you. We were together for 10 years. 10 years, Chloe. How can you toss away 10 years of our lives for a man you've known for a few days? 10 years. I stepped back, looking down at him with pure disdain. Ethan, for 10 years, I stood by you. I helped you build your company. I comforted you when you failed. And what did you give me in return? Guilt trips. Resentment because I wouldn't let you use my body to satisfy your desires before marriage. You resented my boundaries, and the moment a snake offered herself to you, you jumped into her bed. I was wrong. I'll change. I swear I'll change. Ethan slammed his forehead against the concrete floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the company. Just come back to me, Chloe. We can start over. I'll wait for you. I won't touch you until our wedding night. I swear. He doesn't have to wait. A deep, magnetic voice echoed through the garage. Ethan's sobbing stopped abruptly. A heavy, expensive suit coat was gently draped over my shoulders. Marcus stepped out from behind me, pulling me securely against his side. His driver and 4 suit-clad bodyguards stepped forward, instantly surrounding Ethan. Ethan looked up at Marcus, his eyes filled with a mixture of terror and deep, burning envy. Marcus Kingsley? Ethan hissed through his teeth, his voice trembling. You stole my wife. Your wife. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his gaze filled with dangerous contempt. Ethan, Chloe was never your wife. You held a gem in your hands for 10 years and treated it like dirt. Did you really think no one else would see its value? Marcus reached into his pocket, pulling out a handkerchief, and gently wiped a speck of dust off my cheek, his gesture filled with immense tenderness. You complained that she wouldn't let you touch her, Marcus said softly, his voice echoing in the quiet garage. That is because a true gentleman respects a woman's soul, her boundaries, and her wishes. You wanted a toy to satisfy your
Lust.
She wanted a partner for life. Marcus turned his head, looking down at Ethan like an ant beneath his boots. You lost her the moment you decided her dignity was worth less than your ego. Marcus looked at his head bodyguard. Remove him. If he ever approaches my wife again, ensure he spends the next 5 years behind bars for harassment and corporate espionage. Yes, Mr. Kingsley. The bodyguard stepped forward, swiftly grabbing Ethan by his arms and dragging him backwards. Chloe. Chloe, forgive me. Chloe. Ethan screamed desperately, his body flailing. As he was dragged away into the dark, his cries echoing pathetically against the concrete walls until they completely vanished. I stood there, feeling the heavy warmth of Marcus's jacket around my shoulders. A deep sigh left my lips, as if a 10-year weight had finally been lifted off my chest forever. Marcus looked down at me, his eyes filled with gentle concern. Are you okay, my love? I looked up into his eyes, smiled, and reached out to hold his hand tightly. I've never been better, I said softly. 3 weeks later, the news of the century rocked the country. Marcus Kingsley, the head of the Kingsley Empire, was hosting a grand wedding at the historic St. Regis Grand Cathedral, followed by a reception at his private coastal island estate. It was a wedding that surpassed any luxury the city had ever seen. The cathedral was filled with thousands of white Ecuadorian roses, delicate crystal chandeliers hung from the soaring arches, and the guest list included global business tycoons, diplomats, and high society royalty. Inside the bride's dressing room, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror. I was wearing a breathtaking, custom-made haute couture gown designed by the world's top French master, adorned with over 10,000 hand-stitched pearls and shimmering silk that caught the light like liquid diamonds. Marcus's mother, my mother-in-law, walked over with tears of happiness in her eyes, placing a priceless royal emerald tiara upon my head. Chloe, my child, she whispered emotionally, holding my hands. You look like an absolute angel. Thank you for bringing so much warmth and light into Marcus's life. I looked at myself in the mirror, feeling an overwhelming sense of joy and fulfillment. My late mother's wish had finally come true. I had guarded my heart, my self-respect, and my boundaries, refusing to settle for cheap, toxic manipulation. And in return, fate had brought me a man who cherished me like the most precious treasure in the world.
Gong, gong,
Gong. The cathedral bells rang softly, echoing through the grand hall. The heavy oak doors of the cathedral slowly swung open. Soft, ethereal organ music filled the air as I stepped onto the plush white carpet, holding a bouquet of fresh, white lilies. At the end of the long aisle stood Marcus. He wore a tailored black tuxedo, looking impeccably handsome, his tall frame standing straight and tall. The moment his eyes met mine, as I walked down the aisle, the usually cold, unflappable corporate titan lost his composure. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, his throat moving as he swallowed hard, looking at me with pure, unadulterated adoration. Outside the grand stained-glass windows of the cathedral, far beyond the heavy iron gates guarded by dozens of private security officers, a solitary figure stood in the pouring rain. It was Ethan. He was wearing a ragged coat, shivering uncontrollably in the cold downpour. He had spent his last bit of money to take a taxi here, just to get a glimpse of the wedding. Through the heavy wrought iron gates, he watched as I slowly walked toward Marcus. He saw the way Marcus held my hand with reverence, the way Marcus looked at me, as if I were his entire universe, and the radiant, genuinely happy smile on my face, a smile Ethan had never seen in the 10 years we were together. Ethan dropped to his knees in the muddy rain, clutching his chest as choked. Agonizing sobs tore from his throat. He remembered the day I had begged him to take me to Disneyland, and he had dismissed me to play video games with Serena. He remembered the night I had cooked dinner for his birthday and he had thrown a fit because I wouldn't go to bed with him. He remembered the cold, arrogant smile Serena had worn when they cheated on me in that hotel room. He had thrown away pure gold for toxic garbage. Now he was left with nothing, no family business, no money, no pride, and the woman who had loved him unconditionally for 10 years was now the untouchable queen of the most powerful man in the country. Chloe, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Ethan wept into the rain, his voice swallowed completely by the roar of the storm and the ringing of the grand cathedral bells. Inside the warm, flower-filled cathedral, the marriage officiant's voice sounded clearly. Marcus Kingsley, do you take Chloe to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do part? Marcus didn't hesitate for a single second. He pulled my hand up, pressing a soft, lingering kiss onto my knuckles, his dark eyes burning with absolute devotion. I do, Marcus said, his voice loud, clear, and steady, echoing throughout the entire cathedral. With all my heart, my soul, and my life. The officiant turned to me, smiling gently. And do you, Chloe, take Marcus to be your lawfully wedded husband? I looked at the noble, incredibly loving man standing in front of me. The man who had protected my dignity, avenged my pain, and given me a love beyond my wildest dreams. I smiled, my heart bursting with pure happiness.
Ida.
By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant declared warmly. You may kiss the bride. Marcus didn't wait. He gently wrapped his strong arms around my waist, lifting me slightly as he pulled me into a deep, passionate, and breathtaking kiss. The entire cathedral burst into thunderous applause, cheer, and standing ovations. 1 year later, in the coastal city of southern France, a private white yacht glided smoothly across the sparkling, azure waters of the Mediterranean. I sat on a comfortable sun lounger on the upper deck, wearing a wide-brimmed straw hat and a light floral summer dress, sketching the beautiful coastline in my sketchbook. My interior design company had expanded internationally over the past year, becoming one of the most sought-after luxury design firms in the region. From the deck below, a pair of warm, strong arms wrapped gently around my waist. From behind, Marcus leaned down, resting his chin softly on my shoulder, his lips lightly brushing against my ear. What are you drawing, my love? He asked softly, his raspy voice filled with deep affection. I smiled, turning my head to lightly kiss his cheek. Just capturing the view. It's breathtaking. Not as breathtaking as my wife, Marcus whispered playfully, turning my face toward him and kissing my lips tenderly. Over the past year, Serena had been permanently exiled to a remote subsidiary office in South America, working a mundane administrative job, stripped of all her luxury lifestyle, completely forgotten by high society. Ethan had taken a low-level sales job in a small neighboring city, living in a cramped rental apartment, spending his days working endlessly to pay off his family's remaining debts, forever haunted by the memory of the woman he had
Lost.
Their names were distant memories now, entirely irrelevant to my life. Marcus reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box and opening it. Inside sat a breathtaking custom necklace featuring a rare, radiant pink diamond that sparkled brilliantly under the Mediterranean sun. "Happy first anniversary, Mrs. Kingsley," Marcus murmured, his eyes locked onto mine with exact same burning intensity as the day we married. I looked at the beautiful necklace, then up at the man who loved me with every fiber of his being. I leaned in, wrapping my arms around his neck, sinking into his warm, strong embrace. "Happy anniversary, Marcus," I whispered softly into his chest. "Thank you for finding me." "I will always find you," Marcus replied, kissing me deeply as the golden sunlight rained down upon us, painting the vast ocean in endless, beautiful
Light.